So the question that you have here is actually a very simple question, and what I'm going to show you is how to do it with Excel, and that way you can just use the template over and over. And if you're not familiar with Excel, the math is the same in either case. So you have values where x is equal to -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And p of x is given to you at 0.40 and at 0.05, 0.15, 0.15 again, and 0.25. Now, the beauty here is that if I were to add all of these cells, the answer for this cell will always be 1. That's what makes it a perfect probability distribution in this case. So, while we do expected value, we're simply going to multiply, in this case, the values in x times the p of x, and so this gives us something to the effect of -2 times the p of x, and you don't have to do this all the way down. The Excel will actually do the math for you if you grab and drop it just like that, okay? If not, you would just simply repeat the formula. You would simply do equals A3 times B3 and go down again. Same thing again, you would say A4 times B4, A5 times B5, A6 times B6 in these cells respectively. So for example, if you see this one here, you can see that's A6 times B6 since we're in row 6. Now, it's asking you in this case for both the expected value and the variance. So what you want to do is you want to get the sum, and I'm going to open this up so I can see the whole screen. You're going to take the sum of this column, basically adding up all of the products, and this value is your average. So we would highlight that. You don't need to divide by 1. Obviously, anything divided by 1 is itself, but technically, if this were the frequency example that you've done in prior days, you would be dividing as such, and that would be your answer anyway. So this is your average. Alright, or the mean. That's another way we call it, average or mean. Now this cell becomes very important, and so the reason why this cell is important is because without it you cannot actually do the variance, which is the next part. So to compute the variance, you're going to say equals parentheses, and actually I'm going to label this differently. I'm going to call this variance. Actually, even better, I'll just put the formula there for you. So this is going to equal x minus the mean, close parentheses, we're squaring it, and we're multiplying it times the p of x. So that's the formula you're using, and in essence it looks like this, equals parentheses. You would click on the value x minus the average, which you have to put a $sign in front and behind the C value, so that every time you do this, it'll actually go to that cell. If not, the way Excel is built, it'll actually keep moving down. Okay, we're raising this to the second power, and we're multiplying this times P of X. Okay, and so that's what that formula looks like when you're doing variance. So you're going to hit enter, and we are going to drag this down, all the way down to here. Now we're going to take the sum of this cell. Normally we would divide, but since it's P of X, it's 1, again, same difference. This doesn't require division because of that, because of the fact that it's always going to be equal to 1. Now this value is your variance. Because it's your variance, if they ask you for the standard deviation, you would simply do the square root of that number. So you would do equals square root. When you get this, you should have a pop-up come up, and so equals square root of this number, close parentheses, and there's your standard deviation. So variance, standard deviation, and average, and that's how you do it. So keep in mind that these cells that you see here are all part of the computation, so they're all part of what we're trying to solve for in terms of sums, and this is the sum of the P of X's, this is the sum of the values of the products of each. Because we're dividing by 1, that is the answer. Because that is the answer, I went ahead and put it in this cell, and so that's why when you see the formulas, they're all going to refer back to that C10 cell. So notice that in the first line, I have A2 minus the average squared times the P of X. And so I repeat that process here. If you notice again, that refers back to C10. The only reason that is happening is because I put a $sign in front of those two. Alright, I hope this helps you understand this question, and that's how you compute it. Send me